All right, this week we are making some apple slices and some grapes to go onto our cheese board display. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy these are to make. All right, grapes are made primarily of translucent clay. So we're going to start out with a piece of translucent clay about that big. Let's see, let me get my measure. It's a cube about a ½ inch in all directions, approximately. And this happens to be, I think, Sculpey 3 translucent. And then we have this little tiny piece of our colored clay. It's about barely a ¼ inch ball of clay. And this one happens to be Sculpey 3 in plum. I like this color, but you could make green grapes. If I was doing green grapes, I usually take this amount, cut it in half, and make half a yellow and half of kind of a leafy green color. You could make a more blackish red grape. You can make whatever color grapes you desire. You know, look at your grocery store, look in your produce market, and see what they've got. And then we're going to mix this together. And this is going to be an exercise of baking parts and then assembling, and then baking parts and assembling. Grapes are fun to make because they look really impressive when you're done, but they're super simple, just time consuming. And because these are all both Sculpey clays, they mix together pretty quickly. So I've got my paper plate. We are baking on both a paper plate and a ceramic tile later, so you'll see why in a little bit. So I'm going to take a ball that's slightly bigger, and I'm going to make kind of a teardrop shape. And I'm going to bake that. And this doesn't have to be perfect. This is going to be our filler, so we don't have to make so many grapes. Now I'm going to take little tiny pieces, about like that. That may even be that's about right. I see Mrs. Doll here. Yeah, she could probably eat a grape that size. I'm going to drop that on my plate. And I'm going to try and keep my little pieces of clay, my little balls of clay, about that size. And I'm going to make a bunch. I'm probably going to come back and make more. I usually do. I don't make all of them at once. All right. That one's a little big. That's okay. We can deal with being a little too big. Now I'll show you a trick here. See if this cooperates today. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Depending on how warm my fingers are. Get started making a ball. Get started making a ball. Whoops. Not today. This process works better with Fimo than with Sculpey. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can roll 3 or 4 at a time. Not today. I want them slightly elongated. I don't want them completely round balls. Whoops. I don't want them stuck together, however. If they do, we can just pop them apart. So I am going to continue making these little balls of clay, and then I'm going to bake them at 250 degrees for about 5 minutes for this first baking. And when that's done, I'll be back. All right, everything is baked off and somewhat cooled. Now these, rolled together, so I'm going to pop them apart. And obviously I don't have enough grapes yet, and you'll see there's a method to my madness. It's okay. Try and do this so I don't spill anything. And so you guys can still see it. I'm going to move this. Now we need a ceramic tray, ceramic tile here. Do I have, yes. I'll just put them in here. I'm going to corral these. Does that work? That kind of works. Now, I have some TLS. Is this TLS? Yes, this is actually TLS. I'm going to put a pool of that to work from. And yes, I will be wasting some TLS. It's okay. It's just easier to work when there's a bigger pool. Now I have a pair of tweezers. We are going to use tweezers, dip into the TLS, and attach. I put those inside the cutter because I have a bad habit of moving the tile and then having all of those roll away all over the floor, all over everything. So, and I don't see a little dish on my tray, so on my table today. Come on, come on. And the TLS will bake off to clear, so it's okay if it's showing. I'm trying to get these lined up nicely though. And TLS is a little bit on the tacky side, so it will hold the stuff a little bit before it's baked. But you will obviously have to bake it to make it permanent. The thing I prefer about TLS over, say, a glue for doing this step, because sometimes I've seen people do this and they just glue them, is most glues that are compatible with our polymer clay will show us a shiny spot when it dries. So it would be easier if this was a shallow dish rather than a big deep cutter, but and now that's starting to get really hard to work with. So, corral those. I'm going to come back and pick up at least some of my leftover TLS. And now I am going to go stick this in the oven for about 5 minutes. We don't need to bake it all the way through. We just need to get this TLS set up to the point where it will hold on to our pieces. And I'm not going to make more grapes yet. I may have to before I'm done, but not yet. Alright, so I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to bake this, and the tile will have to cool off again before I can work on it after it comes out of the oven. Alright, so I zoomed you in a little bit too. This tile is still a little warm. I would like to do this on a cooler tile, but I've got to get done. So I'm going to once again put some more TLS out. And now these won't go anywhere. They're fastened down. So I'll leave these over here, and we'll repeat the process. Pick up a grape. The grapes are off camera, obviously. Did it in the TLS. Trying to watch the preview screen on my camera and what I'm doing, which is kind of challenging. She usually takes at least 3 bakings on the top side of this. Come on. Ah! They're running away from me. So I think I want one right there, because I don't like the way that looks. I'm going to do my best to get the TLS side towards the grapes and not just towards the tile. And I need more TLS on there. Come on. Come on, little ball of clay. Cooperate with me. Okay. turn this around so I can see this side. And I can see that I need to and every once in a while you'll need to wipe the TLS off of your tweezers because they get really gooey and sticky and stuff doesn't want to let go. Come on. Yeah, normally I would be working much closer to myself rather than way out here. I'd be working like way over here. So I'm about to run out of the little grapes I made, so I'm going to finish off putting on the ones that I made earlier and baked off, and then I'm going to roll just a few more grapes the same way I did the first batch, and I'm going to bake this and some more grapes for about 5 minutes at 250 again, and then I'll be back and we'll continue. Alright, so I got that baked and I baked off some more little pieces. That one actually fell off of there, so I didn't have it glued in the right spot. So this is why I don't like to have these loose, but we're going to try it. And this. I don't need very much right now. And it's just a process of doing the exact same thing we've been doing. Hopefully you're not getting bored. Make sure I'm under camera. There. I want to try and make this end bigger around than that end. And if you wanted to do your grapes not laying flat, you could actually have formed a like a form out of aluminum foil and done this on top of that so that they could drape. See? Come on, stay in there. Come on. Alright, so that's, now I get one more over here. The rest of these will go on the other side. And let me see, I've got, so let me get these off to the side. I have another batch of grapes that I started yesterday. This is one I started yesterday, just kind of to see how this was going to work. And when you pop it off the tray, when it gets all baked and solid, I use a paint scraper to pop it up. And then just, let's go in here, probably use my fingernail for the most part. I want to get rid of the extra bits of clay, of TLS. And you know, I'm probably just going to glue this down onto my marble slab, so I probably don't need any more pieces. Look at it. Do I want more? I actually want another grape right there. This is pretty close to the same color. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. So fill in that one. There. And I also did a green batch yesterday too, green grapes. So let's go ahead and get this baked off. I think I'm just going to bake this a final time. I think I'm done putting grapes on here. This is getting huge, so I don't really need any more. So this time, because I want that TLS to all cure completely, I am going to bake it at 250 for probably 10 minutes now, just to make sure everything is completely cured. And when that's done and the tray is cool enough to handle, I'll come back and we'll look at our grapes. Alright, so this is now out of the oven for the final time, and let's see if we can very carefully take it off of here. Now there will be some little bits of stuff that will need to be removed. Just taking a small pair of scissors. Let me see if I can find those. I'll just juggle those scissors. It's been one of those days. Go in and just trim off the extra TLS that pooled underneath. And since we're going to attach this with TLS to the marble slab, a lot of that will blend in anyway. I still have some TLS there. Oh, that's a loose piece. So I'm going to trim this up a little, and it will be ready to add to our slab. So let's make a few other fruits that we can add to our tray also. Alright, so on to some apple slices. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this little tiny piece of yellow, and this is sunflower yellow, which I have discovered, by the way, is a very potent yellow. And this is white. I believe it's a female white. It doesn't matter which brand it is. We're going to mix these two together. What we need to do is tone down that yellow and or tone down the white, depending on how you're looking at it. Because we don't want the inside of our apples to be too bright. And I think I want actually more white mixed in here. Because that is, even that little tiny bit of yellow was too much. So, we'll tone that down, and then we just won't use it all. And that's my son's cat talking to you. I guess he wants to have a video too. Hopefully he'll stay in the windowsill over there at the end of my table and not join me on the table. So sometimes I do this kneading off camera, but today I think it's important. I want you to see how long it takes. This is a slightly firmer clay, so it takes a little while, not too long. We're just waiting until this is all blended together. Now, I can save most of this for something else. I only want about that much. And this is a translucent, and I have no idea which translucent this is. But you saw we're using very little colored clay to make our color in our translucent. I'm going to run this through the pasta machine a few times. Whoops. By flattening it in the pasta machine, I can get it mixed a little faster. So this also needs to be a nice even mix. Now, if you were going to do a green apple, you could take a little tiny bit of a leafy green type color, very small amount. If it's a dark green, add some white to it again. Add just a little touch of a light green to your translucent clay, and then you could use a green chalk on the outside and make green apples. But most apples are not a really white on the inside. All right, this is mixed pretty evenly. Now we're going to, and this I'm not going to pre-bake it because it's a small amount of clay. If I waste a little bit, it's fine, and I'm pretty confident that this is right. Let's see. Let's get this flattened in. I've got a snake, and what I'm going to do is flatten it against the tile. And now I'm going to take just a little bit of this. I've got Mrs. Doll here. Let's see. That's not a bad sized apple. It's kind of a big apple, so maybe we'll get it a little skinnier. But we want one side flat. Roll it out. Do it again. Pushed against the tile on that side. Not going to be quite this much right now. Now, Excuse me. I have some red chalk here. This is just the standard red chalk that we use a lot. I'm not blending, I'm just going to run the red chalk. On this rounded side, I'm not getting it on that flat side against the tile. That's why I want it against the tile before I start this. I want a little more off there than I'm getting. All right, now I want to wet wipe because I want to clean any loose chalk off of my tile and my fingers before I start cutting. There. Now we just need to cut this into, the end one will be a throwaway, into some very thin slices. If your apple starts to get too flat, simply squeeze it again. So I am going to cut the rest of this up, or most of it. I'm going to put these slices individually onto a paper plate, and I'm going to bake them at 250 degrees for about 5 minutes. And when they're baked and cooled, I'll be back. Alright, so our apple slices are now out of the oven and ready to glue onto our project. And I think I'm going to use the smaller grapes. The grapes I made on camera were a little big, but I wanted you guys to be able to see them. I've also got the green ones I made off camera. So we now have 2 bunches of grapes that we can use and apple slices. So next week we will put together our cheese board, and the dolls will be ready to set it up to do some entertaining. I hope you enjoyed this week's project. Be sure and check the blog post for the clay colors I used and all that stuff. If you haven't found us on Facebook, the link is always in the description box under the video, and I'd love to have you come join us there because we have lots of fun and we talk about lots of things, and many times the Facebook group gets to find out what's going on and why there is or isn't a video. So I will talk to you later. Bye.